Everybody knows that Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom is out in September, Super Mario Party Jamboree out in October, Mario and Luigi Brothership out in November, but in order to get to those months, we got to get through July. There's just no way around it. We tried to go over, we tried to go under, but the only way through is through. So what's going on, everybody? It's Zach from SwitchForce. Today, I'm bringing you the top 10 Nintendo Switch games upcoming in July 2024. Let me know if there's any others that you think I missed. Hit that like button if you're excited to play your Switch this month and what your favorite upcoming release is going to be. We're kicking it off with July 11th, Ace Combat 7 Skies Unknown Deluxe Edition. That's a lot of words, and this is a lot of planes. I'll be honest, I'm a bit concerned about the performance of this port, just given that it is decently performance intensive, as you are in photorealistic skies. You are dogfighting your way with multiple ships and scenarios, different sort of weather, and different sort of environments. Hopefully the Switch can run this. It's a nice little nod. Bandai Namco bringing this over to Switch. They're a big fan of the system, and we get ports quite frequently. So bringing Ace Combat to the system for those of you that are fans of the Flyers. Darkest Dungeon is going to be next up, Darkest Dungeon 2 on July 15th. This was confirmed at the recent Nintendo Direct. It's the sequel to Darkest Dungeon. Surprise, I bet you didn't know that. This is a very moody, depressive game, and I feel like maybe the mood and depressiveness of Darkest Dungeon 2 was just too much after people played Darkest Dungeon 1, because this game definitely didn't make as big of a splash. It is a more competent, it is a better, bigger, fuller package than Darkest Dungeon 1, so here's my thought. If you haven't played Darkest Dungeon 1, or you just tried the recent game trial for Darkest Dungeon 1, I think Darkest Dungeon 2 is a great pickup. But if you've already saddled yourself with the sorrow of Darkest Dungeon 1, as horrible as that sounds, maybe Darkest Dungeon 2 is just too much sadness. This is a game where people, they literally get anxiety, they get horrible fear, they have mental issues. It's a dark game. It is the darkest of dungeons, but it is a very quality dungeon crawler. And the art still, to this day, I think is something to write home about. It looks quite good. It's difficult. This is sort of like the Dark Souls of side-scrolling roguelite battlers, so be ready for that. But it is out for $40 digitally on July 15th. We've also got July 16th. This week is loaded with games, by the way. Deliver Us the Moon, which is brand new on Switch, but from 2018 elsewhere. This is a sci-fi thriller that won a bunch of awards and got a lot of positive buzz. It's a bit of a walking simulator, but more than that because you're in space. You're an astronaut, okay? So basically you are trying to colonize and exploit the moon's natural resources and, whatever that leads to in terms of interesting sci-fi, interesting thrills. It's a very liked game, I would say. Maybe not beloved, but a very liked game. The only issue here is that it looks really good on next-gen platforms. They came out with a next-gen version. It looks kind of crappy on Switch, but as long as you're okay with that, maybe it'll pop better on the OLED. Maybe don't play it on your TV. I do think this is one of the cooler pickups of the month, and I'm glad that they brought it to our system. July 17th, very next day, is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Splintered Fate. This is the roguelike Turtles game that looked awesome until people told me it was on iOS. Now, I don't think that's like an instant game breaker. The art style is simpler, but I think it's going to work well on Switch. It's very colorful, it pops very well, and this honestly is a pretty neat Turtles game. Is it going to be as great as Shredder's Revenge? No. But is it a 1 to 4 player, local or 1 to 4 player online roguelite Turtles game where you can level up and power up your turtles? Yes, I like that. It's got procedurally generated random rooms, random boss modifiers. You're going to be taking on all sorts of enemies and leveling up your turtle and powering them up, which I do think is pretty cool. It is $30 though. I wish this game was $20, considering it is part of Apple Arcade, but you do need to be a subscriber there, so I guess I get it. Try not to let the mobile thing throw you off if you are excited for this title. Star Wars Hunters is also a mobile game, and I actually love that game on Switch. I think it's fantastic. It runs great. It performs great. They put so much TLC into that port. So don't dismiss this one just because it's a, quote, Apple Arcade game. It's possible that it still could be awesome, and I do think a roguelike turtle game is kind of a perfect fit. So fingers crossed that Splintered Fate doesn't splinter my fingers, but instead delights them. On the 18th, the very next day again, Shim. How do you pronounce this game? I don't really know. Is the H silent or is it in there hard? Either way, this looks like a really cool indie platformer. We've seen this one previewed at an indie world, I believe. It's got very stark artwork. The scenes are very contrast heavy. They look really cool. You're jumping from shadow to shadow. and interacting with the environment along the way. I think this is going to be a more chill platformer, but it should have some difficulty. It says, it's a story of a person losing their shadow in a beautiful abstract world. Okay. Maybe there's some sentimentality here. It's more going to be about the visual and audio experience of this one and just the interesting nuanced gameplay of jumping shadow to shadow. It's $25 with a launch discount of $22.50 out on the 18th. Now, coming up also on that very same day is my most anticipated title of the month, Nintendo World Championships NES Edition. Yeah. Nintendo A knows how to make a $29.99 game, miracle. They put out a freaking digital version of this for $30. The physical is $60 because it's the deluxe edition. I say get the digital for $30. It is a great compilation of effectively NES-themed mini-games that you can play with your friends, and the early previews say it's pretty addictive. 150 challenging moments from 13 classic NES games compete against players across the world or on your couch. Pretty awesome. It's obviously for a very specific audience, but even if you aren't an NES kid, even if you are past that, think of this as like nostalgic NSO Mario Party. What if they were like, dude, we're making a Mario Party out of these like nostalgic old Nintendo games that maybe you weren't even born when they came out? I think it's pretty sweet. There's also this survival mode that is like an elimination style mode for 8 players, basically like a Fall Guys type thing. Looks pretty sick. I'm very excited for this, and I'm super smitten by the fact that it is only $30. Thank you, Nintendo, for making something that, isn't $1,001,000. Now, July 18th has a third title for us, Bow Path of the Teal Lotus, which looks like it's trying to be kind of like Ori and the Blind Forest. It even is like Path of the Teal Lotus, Ori and the Blind Forest. It's got unique movement and all sorts of charm in its visuals. You are like a little fox person navigating what I assume is kind of more of a Metroidvania style platformer. It is, a 2D game, but the art is super unique, and you do have this ability to traverse in very eclectic ways. It looks like it moves well. As long as this has good performance, and as long as this does play like control with great, like limited input lag and great precision, I think this is going to be a super cool one to watch out for. It's got awesome looking bosses, awesome art, and a game that is coming out the same day as Nintendo's own Nintendo World Championships, which might limit its exposure, but now you've heard about it here, so hopefully you can pay attention. On July 22nd, we have the new Denpa Men, which was actually featured in this direct, but you might forget it because I forgot it. This one was overshadowed, obviously, by Nintendo's other huge announcements. This game is a very strange RPG where you have these tiny people and you build a team of them, and it's kind of giving me like Pikmin meets Tomodachi Life or meets Miitopia vibes. Apparently, this is the 6th entry in the Denpa Men franchise. I've never played Denpa Men. I probably won't play Denpa Men, but I do think Denpa Men deserves a discussion point, especially because Nintendo did put this out in their direct. They have some faith in it, and it does seem like it's going to appeal to that sort of Miitopia, Tomodachi Life, Pikmin maybe type audience, although this is RPG, so the fact that they're small maybe doesn't mean much. It's just some of the scenarios do feel kind of Pikmin-esque, and there's one part of the trailer where it says Hellstorm of Theo, and Theo's just doing a Hellstorm, which, I don't know, that did really tickle my fancy. So, new Denpa Men, July 22nd. The star named EOS is July 23rd. This is a story-heavy puzzler game where there's some sort of mystery with the family. Okay, it's got a beautiful hand-drawn world. You have a camera, you're photographing some different things as you progress. You're going to have to recreate old photos and use your puzzle-solving skills to navigate this world and uncover the mystery of the family. Games like this, I think, can be amazing or mediocre. Usually they're not bad. It's only $15 with a launch discount of $13.50. I think the art alone and just the concept of uncovering this family mystery through photos is a great concept. There's also a cat, and I'm kind of cat obsessed lately since I got my cat, and it does seem like this one has been getting a lot of good early buzz, so I will give it a look in the third week of July. But the big indie of the month for me is Arranger, a role-puzzling adventure. This one out July 25th, featured at the recent Indie World. Looks amazing. The art style is familiar if you've played Braid, because it's done by the same guy. It looks absolutely amazing. The demo is fantastic. You are Gemma trying to arrange yourself away through these puzzles and navigate these gorgeous worlds with some brain-busting challenges and just a really unique, crafty movement system. This is a $20 title as well, so booyah for that. I think it's going to be something that surprises people. It's called a role puzzling adventure. There's not really like RPG mechanics. It's mostly just a play on words because, you know, you're taking the role of Gemma and you're puzzling your way through it. They even note in the description, like, there's no XP, no inventory, yada, yada, yada. But this is the debut title from a new development team that is basically a cornucopia of cool developers from recent awesome indies, artists from Braid. I know Nick Sutner is on the story, so I am 100% in. This is probably number 2 for me after Nintendo World Championships NES Edition. So let me know which of these 10 you're most excited to play in the month of July. I know there's a few anime games as well that I did not cover, but other than that, it's a pretty light month. Maybe there's going to be a few surprise indie releases that try to capitalize on the lighter load, but it's going to be a month that has, I think, a few hidden gems that end up sticking with us, in particular a Ranger, and I do feel like Nintendo World Championships is going to surprise some people, and maybe even the star named EOS. TMNT and Deliver Us the Moon could be great titles in the middle of the month as well. Let me know what you're interested in playing in the comments down below. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay happy, stay positive out there. Until next time, everybody, love you lots. SwitchForce out.